when I really identified with Growstill, towards the beginning, it was honestly thwarting me. Like it was an unhealthy attachment to it because I had put my whole self in it, but it was like it was too much, and there was so much pressure because when someone didn't believe in the project or believe in the dream or whatever it was, I took it so personally, and also I needed to, yeah, really be present to what I personally was going through, and I needed to put it aside to take care of myself, and
Mm-hmm.
and so now I like Grow Still is, it is my career, and there's been really a family that's come from it. I think I have just the best team in the world.
ALFA Relations, driving change forward.
And just like that, I hit the record button and we're just going to dive right into it. Welcome back, everyone, to the next episode of ALFA Relations. We have a very special guest in the house, Concordia alumni, AHSC alumni. So this is a big deal, all right? Mm-hmm. And a really, really, fond and great supporter of ALFA Relations and a great supporter of many communities here in Montreal. We have Jasmine Jazz Mascarenhas. Did I get it right?
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, okay. All right. Anyway, so Jazz, everyone, is I believe I have it right here. I don't want to mess it up. Is the co-founder as well as director general of a great, organization here in yours truly, MTL, Montreal. Okay. And they help to, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in the gist of it, you guys are a resource center for emerging adults. Is that correct, Jazz? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, exactly. Support and resource center for emerging adults, so
Beautiful.
18 to 32-year-olds.
All right. So, Jazz, what we like to do with all of our guests here is just you take the next couple of minutes, give us, the best, fairy tale story of who you are, where is Jazz, coming from? Who is Jazz? What makes Jazz Jazz? Actually kind of sounds good. It's got a good ring to it,
Well, would you like the short answer or the slightly longer answer?
Whatever you're most comfortable giving us.
Okay, well, I'll jump on a limb because it might give people a little bit of a better idea about Growstill. Mm-hmm. So, who am I? Well, I think I have a personality that's fit to lead because I really am able to, and I've always been like this since I was a kid. I'm really able to put myself in someone's shoes, and whether they speak or not, I feel like I can really relate to them. And I've always kind of just naturally fallen into leadership positions. Also, even when I was a kid, even if I was really shy in school projects, I would always kind of be the one to get the ball rolling. In sports, I would become like captain without really like trying or thinking about it. I'm really good with words, I would say writing and communication. I understand things in a kind of systems way. It's a blessing but a curse also sometimes because I tend to think big, so I can see the big picture, but sometimes the details get away from me and I take on too much. Other than that, I'm 27 years old, but I for reasons that I'll explain a little bit later, I feel a lot older. I am mixed ethnicity, so my dad is from India. He immigrated to Canada like over 40 years ago. My mom is half German, half Quebecois.
Oh, wow.
So she immigrated as a baby. They've been separated since I was 3. Um, what else? I would say, I mean, I identify as a woman, but I'm more and more getting, like, I guess, just comfortable with the term gender fluid. I'm pansexual. I used to say bisexual, but when I learned the term pansexual, which means that you are attracted to or love people regardless of their gender.
Hmm.
Other than that, I'm trying to hit certain points, which I'll explain after if this is
No
seeming
worries.
very,
Go for
very
it.
complete. Other than that, I live with a chronic autoimmune illness. I use the term fibromyalgia because it's what the diagnosis says, and in Western medicine, it's the easiest way to describe what I experience. But
Okay.
the way I live, I don't really live thinking that I have that.
Hmm.
It's a very complex condition. So, and for me, Eastern medicine has really been the thing that has saved me and helped me. So, anyway, that's just a big part of what's made me who I am today.
Hmm.
And finally, how could I end this? Um,
I like what you're doing
uh,
here. Keep going.
I would say all of those things, yes, they can explain who I am, but our personal experiences are really, technically someone else could have the same personality as me and maybe the same ethnicity and all of those things, but the path that I have been on for the past few years, actually very much coinciding with the birth of Growstill, um, it's brought me to a place where I'm very how would I say, I'm on a mission. I
Hmm.
feel really just called to dedicate my life to supporting and guiding human beings through the transformation that needs to occur, which is a dramatic shift in consciousness.
Hmm.
Um, so I think I'll leave it at that. That's who I am.
That was a great way of summing that up. Yeah, and for, I mean, I know we're going to get into it, but thank you for sharing that about yourself, and just, I mean, because that is who you are, you know, and like you said, we're going to get into it, right? But I think that's like, it's like you're setting it up. You're setting up, and you're gonna knock it down afterwards, So I really love that. I'm excited for it. As we work our way there, how about we start, backwards, right? And we work our way up. So knowing that, you are the co-founder of this wonderful organization that is still in its primary here, it's still young at heart, and it's Growstill is still growing, no pun intended, but let's start off with your academic background. So we know that there is a relationship to applied human sciences. Why don't we take just explore that for a minute? So why AHSC?
Yeah, I love this question because this is why I was so happy when I discovered ALFA Relations, because when it was kind of the same feeling that I had when I got into AHSC. I wasn't sure what I wanted to study. I had taken some time off after CJEP. My mom was encouraging me to go to McGill in social work because I knew I wanted to do something along those lines, and she's a
Hmm.
social worker. But it really didn't. I don't know why. I looked at the McGill page and I needed all these like I don't remember, but it just didn't appeal to me. And then I saw the description for human relations, and I was just like, what's this? Like, this sounds awesome. So I signed up, and, really that first year, it really was life-changing for me. And I really thought to myself, almost every single class, I thought to myself, like, why don't we learn this kind of stuff, in high school or in CGIP, or why isn't it, something that everyone has to do? It's all of this introspection and how to communicate and how to work in teams, like things that everybody has to do. And one of my first friends, shout out to Kira, she's my first AHSC friend.
Nice.
We were both like, this is, ridiculous that it's only people at Concordia University in this program that are getting to do these things. So anyway, I did my bachelor's in human relations. I loved it, honestly. I really can't complain. I loved it, and I graduated back. Can't believe now it's already been 4 years, and that's why I love ALFA Relations, because you're bringing it into. I know a lot of your listeners are from HSC, but I know that you guys are gonna just blow up. I can just feel it, and it's just so important that these topics be covered and they get into the mainstream, and that you're bringing in professors from HSC. I think that is so important, because they have their their little audience or listeners in the classroom, but ultimately they have so much to share. So that's why I've just been really enjoying listening to you guys, and thank you for taking the initiative to do this.
Well, thank you for that.
You.
Yeah, and taking the time to explore, the program. It's always, it's a warm feeling when I think of HSC, and sure, we know it's about, like, from day one. I don't know what your first class was, but mine was 260. Was it 260? No, sorry, that was my 270, right? 270 on Tuesday, fall 2017. I remember that. Alex, Luke, and myself, before we all knew each other, were in that class. But I think it was 260 for me, which was 2 days later on the Thursday. I sat down in the circle in 326 in Vanya Extension, right? And I'm just thinking, what's with the whole circle? What's going on here?
Right.
This is different, I felt exposed. I felt weird. I felt awkward. But the one feeling that triumphed all those feelings, was my curiosity based off what I read as well in that description. Because you're right, I did the same thing. I looked at McGill, I looked at Concordia, I read, so many different programs and their descriptions. Talked to a few advisors. The one that seemed not odd, but peculiar, and I mean that in the most endearing way, was AHSC. And well, here we are. The rest is history, and so shout out to, the department as well as the professors. You mentioned before, you see the big picture, you see systems, and for ourselves, we get this studying human relations about systems thinking, having a system, looking at systems as a mindset, would you just mind explaining your own interpretation of what it means to be a systems thinker, or to engage in systems thinking?
That's a really great question, and the first thing that comes to mind is it's a global community that thankfully came into my life already almost 5 years ago, and it's based on a theory called Theory U. By Otto Scharmer, and there's a Concordia class that emerged from it called the U Lab.
That's right.
And basically, to try and sum it up, he consolidated processes that he saw around the world that already existed by interviewing the 150 most successful entrepreneurs in the world in all different fields. And he realized that there's a similar process that they all go through, which is just very briefly seeing with fresh eyes. So, listening, for forgetting what you know. As you go down the U, when you get to the bottom of the U, it's called presencing. So it's basically the social, what comes out socially if you're fully present and aware and connected to your environment. And the end of the U is that crystallization, that like creation of something. And why this relates to systems thinking is that when I read his framework to understand what's going on in the world, it was really a defining moment for me, and it is, I think, the seed that planted Growstill,
Nice.
2 years before the vision came. And basically how he explains the crisis of our time is that there are 3 basic disconnections within all of our systems. So the first one is a disconnection to self, so from self to self, which is also called the spiritual divide. The second one is disconnection between the self and others, which is the social divide. And the third one is the disconnection between self and nature or your environment, which is the ecological divide. And when I read that, and it was in the context of a Concordia summer class in 2016. I don't know, maybe you had a class with her, Eva Pomeroy, but she's one of my role models, and she was trying to make a class from this book, Theory U, and we were her first kind of like guinea pigs in this summer class. It was just 1 week long, May 2016, and I was sitting at Cafe Sheikha, NDG, and reading it, and I was just like really, really like everything started to make sense, because I felt for years that, and it was just kind of the norm, that the world was chaotic, but I was also a young emerging adult, so I was going through my own stuff, trying to just, be free and like be happy, but with the knowledge that like the world is there's just terrible things happening all the time. And so for me, reading that book was kind of the first step to being able to understand things in a systematic way, which for me was also like an anxiety reliever. Nice. I don't know if that answers the question, but
it does more than that. Oh, thank you. I mean, I think the best part is, I mean, we have all taken 270, which before it got reformed, it was called, Alex, what was it here? Oh, we've all taken 270. What was it? I think Introduction to Intervention in Human Systems, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But that being said, I'm going to cut this little part here, but Jasmine, would you just mind muting yourself? It's okay. But that being said, so we all took that course, and we all, came to understand, at the surface, what systems thinking was. And, like yourself, I was mind blown, right? For 2 reasons. Number one, to be completely frank, I did not understand it. But number two, once I did, and it didn't occur that class, the seeds were planted. But it only occurred afterwards when you were in your group projects and the other group projects that are occurring that all lead up to this big moment where you run your field work or your stage or what have you, and you start to look at all systems around you. Like I used to work at the YMCA, for instance, right? And you take that as a whole, right? And you break it down. There's so much fascination, and you're right. Going into the things that we'll be talking about more into this episode, it's the people, that are driving, those mechanisms, and there's change, and there's evolution, growth, and there's conflict happening on all different levels for all different reasons, and that's to me that's just mind-blowing, because it's like a big explosion of 100 million different colors right in front of you. You see the whole thing, but you want to start understanding, well, look at that, look how that looks, look how that's unfolding, and the patterns, right, and the shapes, right? There's so much, and I've heard of Eva. I have not had the pleasure of working with her or having her as a prof, but I've heard fantastic things from other students and friends. That was fantastic. Thank you. That was a great response. Just moving forward, so we've established, your academic background, HSC. We know that we know each other through HSC, but would you mind telling us about how do we know each other, Jazz? Like, how did that story come to be? What's the relationship here?
But I just wanted to give a little bit more info about Eva, because now she really the Presencing Institute, which is the institution that emerged from Theory U, she really went pretty much into that, and now she doesn't teach anymore in HSC, but she's I think her title is Social Innovator in Residence at Concordia, on top of being like head of research or something like that at the Presencing Institute. But it's just a really, if anyone wants to check out their website, it's amazing.
That sounds fantastic. Awesome. If anything, just hook us up with the links, and we'll definitely put that down, to spread the word, That's it. Future podcast guest, Hey, who knows? Welcome in, good sir Luca.
Hello. Sorry for being so late, Jazz.
It's okay. It's a pleasure to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you too.
We already shit talk you.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we've been doing the last 20 minutes, just shit talking Luca. Yeah.
Look at Alan, all fancy today.
Thank you. I put on a summer half sleeve shirt. It's the weather. So what can I say? You have to enjoy it, because I was not a fan of winter, to be completely frank. All right. Okay. So Jazz, when you're ready.
Okay, so how do I know you guys? So last semester, my dear friend and coworker Nitu-san, he had to do his field work for HSC, which Alan just mentioned earlier, and when he asked if he could do it for Growstill, which he's been a part of pretty much since the beginning. It was like, no questions asked, like, yes, of course. It's like, but what is it? And he introduced me to Alan and Luca. Were you also in the fieldwork project with them?
I was not part of the fieldwork, but I joined another meeting.
Yeah, okay, so I met Alan, Nitu, and another one of your friends for your fieldwork. And so it was just kind of to give the, I guess, a little bit of direction and like framing for you guys, but mostly I think I didn't really do anything at all, and I still have to watch the recordings from your workshops, but I swear that I want to and I will, but it's just been a crazy past 6 months. But anyway, that's where I met you guys. And then the most beautiful gift was that we needed help a couple months later with a few things. And Alan and Luca and I think Patrick.
That's right.
You guys helped us out volunteering for a little while, and it just we can't express our gratitude enough for all of the people who have volunteered for us and given their time. It means a lot, and now it's cool to be seeing the face behind the famous laugh.
Oh boy, yeah. It's true. It is quite iconic.
It is.
Just before moving forward, I know it takes a little bit of getting used to. Yeah. Oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
I could make you a mute button if you want.
What's that?
I'm gonna make Jazz a mute button.
You're gonna make her a mute button? Oh.
Yeah, I'll go. There you go.
Remember we were supposed to do that at one point. We never did it.
I mean, I still have the cards. I just I've given up.
I'll try and be more on the ball. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No worries.
Honestly, it's fine.
But you see, that's the best thing about a podcast. Like podcasts, it's not supposed to be so structured and rigid. If like a mistake is not a mistake, it's just you and I talking. Us talking in this case, right? So, and that's the best part. Because if it's too structured and whatnot, it's kind of like we were making a movie. Damn. But last I checked, I don't see any lights, camera, action, Hollywood producers. I just see us. So we dictate it how we want to, which is the best part. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was Jazz came in, or Neethu, shout out to Neethu, telling us for the organization that he worked with here, and he just said right away, it's a good friend of mine. They have a good organization, and they're from HSC. So right away, number one, I feel like I don't know these people, but there is a sense of rapport and trust, that we can get behind, knowing the fact that, okay, well, even if they're a few years ahead of us, we have studied very similar things, if not the exact same thing with the same professors, had a very similar experiences. And I was excited from day one, and knowing the fact that you came in at such a great time, for us to work alongside with you guys, for us to run our field work, because our original plan, which was to do with the YMCA, had fallen through when Montreal went into the red zone, right? And everyone was just up in a panic, of course, right? And scrambling, trying to figure out what they were going to do. It was fun. And I think you're going to have a really great time when you go back and watch those recordings. Yeah, they are there. They are all there, We had a good time. And it was a big success, a lot of great feedback, and I'm excited, for, moving forward, what you like to do with that. And then, of course, just thank you for giving us the opportunity to volunteer. I know at times it was tough with the communication with everything that was happening in our lives. But we were very helpful, in all honesty, to help you guys out and to have, to work alongside you, because it is good work. It is interesting at the end of the day.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And shout out to Pat.
He worked hard, that man.
He did.
Anyway, moving on from Patrick. So let's dive into Growstill, which is part of, or the majority, big part of why you're joining us today on the podcast. So if you could tell the listeners what Growstill is exactly, and then just dive into what the purpose or mission statement is that you guys have.
Yeah, so Growstill is a support and resource center for emerging adults, meaning individuals aged 18 to 32. Our mission is to guide emerging adults through a process of introspection, innovation, and growth so that they can become healthy, balanced, fulfilled, contributing members of society. We've modified the mission statement a few times, so hopefully that was the right one. But yeah, so the mission statement and what we do, well, we honestly it all really, a lot of the approach comes from AHSC, in that we take really like a holistic approach to supporting a population that is underserved and unrecognized, truly. There's clear distinctions about, we need to help kids for this certain thing, and we need to help teens for this and seniors for this, and that's all well and good, and it's true, but there's really a gap at the moment for services targeted towards emerging adults, because in the very first place, emerging adulthood isn't even yet really, we use it, and we're trying to get that terminology like more popularized, but it's still not mainstream. I often have to explain it, but with where we are today in humanity in 2021, there really is a distinction between an adolescent and the adult who has that financial stability and who's just at a different space in their lives, because now with post-secondary studies, we're staying in school for a lot longer, yet and we're also we're used for free labor a lot for internships and all of these things, yet we still have to pay rent and pay our bills like everyone else. So we're kind of caught in between that, like leaving the nest, if you have a nest to leave from, because not everybody does. There's a huge population that is coming from youth protection. Our co-founder Vanessa is one of those people, and so there needs to be a center that is completely dedicated to supporting this population, and we strive to be that center.
That's really awesome. And so we've shared in the past, like I think it was last week or the week before, some events that Growstill has like going on. So like, what does Growstill offer exactly? So we've mentioned events and the boys volunteering and stuff. So what is behind that? So what are you guys offering these emerging adults?
So our main services, there are 4 of them at the moment. I'll start with the first one that was kind of the heart and soul of the organization at its very beginning, which is our life guiding service, which is peer-to-peer guidance through 20 sessions, about 1 to 2 hour long, and they're based on what we call our recipe for healthy growth. So it's kind of the foundation of Growstill. So these are the 4 pillars, or the 4 steps, which are identity, wellness, exploration, and goals. So we guide the individual through these 4 steps, which include, it's really a variety of things, but self-reflection exercises, self-assessments, and then we have a huge resource database. And anyway, I won't get too much into it. That's our first service. Secondly, we have our Becoming Your Best Self workshop series, which is the group workshop version of the life guidance. So it's a little bit shorter. It's 14 weeks. And there's about 10 other emerging adults. We've been able to host it now for 2 years. We did kind of a hybrid version last fall because of COVID. We had our first 3 in person and then the rest on Zoom. Our third service is another workshop series called Be Who You Art. So this is our artistic self-expression workshop that is constantly evolving and changing. Of course, our workshops always are, but this one was actually initially created by AHSC interns who needed to do, once again, their field work. So nice. We've had such a close collaboration and link to AHSC in general, with volunteers and interns. It's been truly amazing, and it's cool for us because we know that, like you said, Alan, we know what you've studied, so there's like a little bit less, doubt or pressure. It's like, okay, we know that these people, they can communicate and they can work in a team and they know how to design a workshop, like supposedly. But we've had just really good experiences with that. So Be Who You Art is our third one. And our last service is the one that's been taking place. We had our first event of the year last week. So this is our Care to Share discussion circles. The objective of these are to provide the space and the tools to discuss sensitive topics that relate to either inequality, illness, or conflict. So these ones are completely free, and our first one about 10 days ago was on the topic of racism. And our next one coming up in less than 2 weeks, we'll be talking about substance abuse and addiction.
That's really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking about Neethu. He had mentioned it to us. I wanted to attend the first one. I want to attend the second one. And I especially think it's very keen these days. Knowing that, especially after this past year, people being isolated. I mean, a lot of these things are interrelated. Regarding isolation with depression and substance abuse being tied all that together, especially for the younger demographics here. So, for anyone who is interested, Jazz, of course, send us the link, give us the information. Heck, I'm going, I got free time. Let me know. Hook me up.
You're funny. Sorry. So we kind of briefly touched upon this when you were telling everybody, like who is Jazz and all of this, but maybe we can now dive in a little bit deeper about what the origins are of Growstill.
Well, yeah, firstly, thank you for reminding me of that, because why I identified myself the way I did was to kind of demonstrate the way that we look at identity within Growstill, which is, as I mentioned earlier, really the foundation. So we look at identity we divide it into 4 different aspects. The first one is personality and intelligence type. The second one is diversity. So we use the internal dimensions of diversity, meaning age, gender, ethnicity, sexual orientation, physical and mental ability. And we've modified the 6th one, which we learned in school was race, but we've modified it to be racial discrimination, because we didn't feel comfortable keeping that as a category, because it's something that we want to move away from, in the sense that, ethnicity encompasses what we want to know when we're asking about someone's race. We want to know more, what's their culture, where were they born, where do they come from, what's their historical background, what language do they speak. It's more related to that, whereas race is a social construction that has been used to oppress people. So so personality and intelligence, diversity within those 6 dimensions, and finally personal experiences. Personal experiences. So that's kind of that's why I gave this long story about who I am, just to kind of give people an idea of what we do and how we help people explore themselves and achieve that strong sense of self. But sorry, can you repeat your question, or your original question, Alex? I don't remember.
Yeah, I was just asking what the origins of Growstill are.
Yes. Okay. So, as I said, the first seed was planted, I would say, just by being in HSC, and then the Theory U class that I mentioned, and then the origin for starting with me, because I have 2 co-founders, so I'll tie them in when it in chronologically in the story. For me, it came from really for me it was hitting rock bottom. I graduated from HSC in May 2017. I had been experiencing varying degrees of health issues, which now I realize it was for most of my life, but more intensely since adolescence. But I had never really given it its full attention, and I always wanted to, be tough and not complain and not talk about it. But I graduated. I was really confident and optimistic about my future. I thought that I had done everything right. I had gotten the grades, I had done the volunteering, I had made those connections with professors. I had held down a steady like customer service job, done the field work, all of these things, and I kind of I hit a wall in terms of the looking for a job part of that of the transition. My job was literally finding a job like every day. I was just applying to all of these places and writing letters of intention and going to interviews. But all of this during a time where my health was deteriorating. And finally in February 2018, I got another phone call of rejection from a job that I really wanted, and I thought that I was gonna get, and that's when I took the decision to just stop, which I had never done. I was always, even during that time, I was working odd jobs, to make ends meet and doing a bunch of things. I was always doing things, but that was really like, I just couldn't anymore. I was physically and emotionally exhausted and unwell. And so, yeah, I just finally told myself, I'm going to stop looking for a job and take a break. And also that's the first time that I contemplated and was able to commit to my first sober month, because like many emerging adults, I was, for me, partying and drugs was my way to let go of that, picture perfect straight A student, like doing all the things, being there for family, being the good friend. It was my kind of escape. And so back in February 2018, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do 1 month, which for me at that time was a big deal. 1 month without drinking, and what do you know, within 2 weeks of resting and taking care of myself and not consuming any substances is when I had the vision for Growstill. And I just started writing, and it started just as a Word document, and about a year later is when I would meet my co-founder. I hadn't been able to do much else than just build the framework for it, kind of the pitch. I had tested it on a friend of mine, the 4-step process. I learned a lot from that, but I was still dealing with a lot of health issues and basically just personal issues, because when you're not well inside, your outer world is going to reflect it. So all of my relationships seemed like they were falling apart. So that whole 2018 was just a crazy ride. And when I met Vanessa and Daniel, my co-founders, that's really when things kicked off and it became more concrete.
What like self-discovery and just like, you overcame so much, and that's honestly like, that's really admirable. It's very impressive. I find not a lot of people that I know like have struggled with getting out of it and then finding something that they're really passionate about that keeps them like on the path and like following their vision. So that's really amazing, honestly.
And how you're like
using like this, like your platform right now, or Growstill, as a way to also help other emerging adults who are going through the same thing, going through that transition period in their life, and where could be feeling those same feelings that you went through back in 2018, and having this like outlet right now with your program going on. It's really powerful.
Yeah, thanks guys. And Alex, what you said about it providing kind of the path, that's exactly how I feel about Growstill. While it's beautiful what has come of it and the community that's been built around it, but ultimately it has it has kept me really like in line and feeling like I do have purpose, and that, you know, sharing, and I think Luca, you've mentioned this in various episodes, but the most powerful thing is to just share your story, because chances are there's someone who can relate to it and find inspiration in it.
God damn, I feel inspired. I really do. Like, I mean, just hearing, first of all, Jazz, you know, you got balls, you know, and I feel like, I feel like your confidence, but your confidence comes from your experiences of the hardship, you know, of the personal struggle within, you know, that we all face on a regular basis, and it's all unique to ourselves. But you faced your stuff, and, you know, in many senses, you know, we will always continue to face different levels of whatever may be ailing us, you know. But, you know, I see you standing strong, and here you are. It's you had this idea, you planted the seed, like you said, and here you are. It's a few years later, and it's still going, it's still growing, you know. And I love that. And I mean, I think that's very inspirational for anyone, you know, that has ever, like Alex mentioned, you know, I mean, many people, they start something that they're very passionate about, and within a few months, they just quit. You've been at this for a couple of years, you know, that's impressive. It really is. It really is, you know, and it is not about the rush, about when you'll get to whatnot. Like, no, it's about right now. It's about right now, you know, and what you do. You know, and it's what you're doing right now with us, you know, and that's the magic of it. You know, you really feel that. And if you can do that already the last couple of years, I see the future, you know, just with exponential growth occurring, you know. Yeah, because you already know what's up, you know, that's it. Because you're so invested in it, because this is who you are. That's your identity, right? And the transition happens over the lifetime. Oop, hit my microphone there. Happens over the lifetime there, right? It doesn't happen in one day. It doesn't happen in 2 days. Like, no, we are a constant process, you know? I love throwing that word around, you know? I swear to God, it's like I should have like a jar, you know, with 25 cents. And each time I say process or we say systems, you know, just throw it in there. You know, hey, for those who know, you know. It is. It's a beautiful word. Beautiful word. Anyway, I just wanted to say that.
But actually what you said about, you know, identity and, you know, oh, you know, it's who I am, that's actually when I really identified with Growstill, towards the beginning, it was honestly thwarting me. Like, it was an unhealthy attachment to it, because I had put my whole self in it, but it was like it was too much, you know. And there was so much pressure, because when someone didn't believe in the project or believe in the dream or whatever it was, I took it so personally, and also I needed to really be present to what I personally was going through, and I needed to put it aside to take care of myself, and so now I, like, Growstill is, you know, it is my career, and it has there's been really a family that's come from it. I think I have just the best team in the world, and, you know, I'm so grateful for having it, but ultimately it's, you know, I still need to leave it. I still need to kind of leave it on the table when I stop working, and, you know, have my own life, which that was its own process in itself, just like not too much identifying myself completely with this thing that has a life of its own now.
That's fantastic, you know, and you know that, like, I mean, sometimes, yes, I mean, we can be so in love and infatuated with, you know, our own ideas of what we want to be doing as a passion and career, that we just get so into it that, of course, you have to look out for, you know, number one being you, of course, because there would be no Growstill, you know, if you are not taking care of yourself, if your co-founders, your partners, your colleagues are not taking care of themselves, because just like it goes back, you know, to the systems, you know, you want all parts to be working here for the big picture to be functioning appropriately. And at the end of the day, yeah, sometimes you gotta put on the brakes, or you need to detach for a bit. I absolutely get that.
All right, so we were just interested to just like hear a little bit about like what does a typical day at Growstill look like? Like, what are the different roles that the other employees or other collaborators take on, and what are your primary and secondary responsibilities within the within Growstill?
So now I would say I'm comfortably sitting as director, but I still have a strong responsibility in terms of co-management with my co-founder Vanessa. So she is our head of research and workshops, and she's also co-manager, but we've been in the process of transitioning for me to really be able to step back to be more fully like only director, so I can concentrate on that. And she will be a team manager. We have Nitu. He is our financial manager. He has like saved he's made such a huge impact in the company, but also he's made such a huge impact in my life for several reasons. One, because he's one of those people who always puts the other person first, and always seems like he has a handle on himself, and he's making those decisions for what's best for the whole. He's always thinking in that way. But also for me personally, because one of the things that had like been haunting me since the beginning of this whole process was finances for like business and organizational development. It was my weak point. I've never enjoyed economics or any of that, and it was really like a headache for me, and I was always lost in it. But with his expertise and his calm and his just willingness to take on everything, even if it's new. So anyway, he's financial manager. We have Aislinn, who is our graphic designer, but she's a lot more than that. Just this amazingly creative person, and honestly, the team is kind of shifting and changing continuously. But our other main member is Veronica. So I used to work with her at the women's shelter, Logifem, here in Montreal. That's where we met. And then she participated in one of our services and finally joined our team. So she's actually technically our human relations manager. So she kind of manages the communications with clients and a bunch of other things. But honestly, the typical day, it's kind of difficult for me to answer that. I feel so lucky because my life now looks like really going at my own pace in every way. And that's why it's pretty cool, because in that way the development of the organization also, of course, it's not only dependent on me, but it does kind of follow my pace, like if I do need to slow down, then like things slow down, and like that's just the natural way of things. But what's more typical, I guess, we have our team meetings every 2 weeks. Just talk about what's happening with the projects, what's happening with funding. Funding has been a huge topic of discussion for the past 6 months now. And me and Vanessa, we meet at least once a week to also just do co-management. And one person I forgot to mention who's very, very important is our mentor, Daniel. So he's the third co-founder. I met him just a few months after I met Vanessa, and he has really he's our mentor, but he's helped us with everything that's setting up finances and legal procedures, like to get that nonprofit status, to get that charity status. He's an amazing, like, he's a coach also, a leadership coach. So we have regular meetings with him, and he's now the president of our board. So yeah, I don't know if that answers really.
Yeah, I'd say it does. I think there's like a lot of moving parts within Growstill, and just a lot of growth going on over the years too. So like it is pretty hard, I guess, to just track everything when you're building so rapidly also within the community like that. So what is the ultimate vision of Growstill? Where do you see Growstill in the next like 5-10 years?
We have always intended to become something that's linked to and supported by, institutions. So meaning government, school, healthcare, because we don't want to just remain, that community center on the corner of the street that's just that community center for the next 40 years. Like, because of all of this systems thinking that we've been talking about, we know that to really make that impact and to change things for the future generations, because if this has been our experience as emerging adults, and it has been for, I would say, the generation before us as well, it's going to be like that for everyone coming up also. So ideally, big dream for us is to get into CJEPs and basically build our own class that would be for all that would be one of those classes that you need to take when you go to CJEP. So, and it would kind of be built similarly to our Becoming Your Best Self workshop. So you're going through the identity, wellness, exploration, goals, all of that, but in your first year, so that you don't have to necessarily go through all of that confusion and all of the pressure that's put on our shoulders to figure out exactly what you want to do, and so that's a big goal for us, to really get our foot in the CJEPs. We do have a contact now, at least with some high schools. So we think that that's probably a good starting point, because if we let's say can go into high schools and get feedback from those students and share what we do, and kind of get their input, like, okay, if this was a class in CJEP, would you guys take it? And so that's a big one, to get into the school system. And other than that, coming up much sooner, like near future, hopefully 2022, we want to build our virtual growth portal. So basically make our website. Right now our website is just, kind of the traditional website that gives you information about who we are and our services, but we really want to make it a resource, so that ideally you can come in as a user and go through all of these steps that I've been talking about from your home, and also from anywhere in the world, because of course we do want to expand, but the future is digital. So we think we have the tools and the competencies to be able to build that next year if all goes well. Yeah, I think those are two pretty big visions.
Everything okay, Luca?
I was waiting for Alan to say something.
No, you're saying something.
All right, so shifting gears a little bit, a few weeks ago, I believe it was, Alpha and you, or I guess Alan and Alex, met up with you to sort of talk about a collaboration with Alpha, and we just want to touch a little bit on just the importance and the meaning for you of the community collaborative approach
Yeah, so I've had Alpha kind of on my radar for a while. Of course, since when I met Alan in the fall, and immediately I thought to myself like, whoa, like this guy is either like an entertainer or like facilitator or both. Like he just has that personality for it. And then he told me, oh yeah, like we started a podcast. Honestly,
A little bit of everything.
I'd never had time for, or never made time for podcasts. But I said, okay, this one, like I have to make time for it. And so I started listening in January. I'm still quite behind because you guys are just on a roll and you're just producing so much so fast. But every time I listen, I'm just like, hey, like this is really in line with Growstill from so many different angles, whether it's the topics, whether it's you guys being emerging adults and sharing yourself so vulnerably, which I also think is it's we need more cis white males being vulnerable like you guys are. It's not, it's we don't see that everywhere. But since we have been struggling to gain visibility, it's like we have everything kind of, we have the groundwork, we have it all set up, but we don't have those marketing skills yet, or that visibility. So when I would be listening to the podcast, I was like, you know what, there's something to do here. I don't know exactly what, but I feel like there's a collaboration, and I just need to send out just reach out. And of course being on the podcast, it was also a one of those conquering fears moments, that I know that as for my role within the organization, but also just in my life and my mission here on the planet, it's like I have to become more comfortable with just talking to people on these different media outlets. So when we spoke a couple of weeks ago, I don't think either of us had a strict like, or a specific, let's do this together, but it was more like, okay, let's start the conversation and let's see how our initiatives can collaborate and support each other. And the community approach that you asked about, Luca, it's something that I think is really important for community organizations to keep in mind. It's specifically community centric funding. That those are the principles that I was building upon, which are that the mission of one alone organization is never more important than the bigger mission, like the bigger picture, what's happening in the collective, what's happening in society. So for Growstill and ALFA Relations, it was just like, let's keep each other in the loop about what's going on, so that first of all we can also capitalize on resources, and not, let's say, both be doing something like this, a very similar thing, when I actually, okay, we're like, we're not gonna start a podcast, we're gonna like try and capitalize on what you guys have created, and vice versa. Like if you guys decide, oh, like let's do a workshop about identity or whatever, then it's like, okay, wait, actually Growstill is doing something, like maybe we can get our foot in and co-facilitate or something like that.
Yeah, that sounded good. Oh my gosh, it's slipping my mind. No, wait, no, I got it back. You said it right there, and I know I mentioned this during our last meeting, but there's value in that, right? Because there's value in the sense where there could be something that you have, started off where that you guys have experienced Growstill as an organization, that we may have, very little information or very little experience, and that's the beautiful thing, because we learn by observing, and then eventually we learn by doing, said things. And I think that's the essence, is doing that together, and the other way around, as you were mentioning about, future podcast opportunities, like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Stay tuned, anyway. But the point is, I think that's it right there. It's knowing, the moment that something or someone aligns with you, when it's out there, take that moment to reach out, take that chance. And that's exactly what you did. And I'm very grateful, now knowing, who is Growstill, what is Growstill, who's Jazz, right? And that's how we started this whole, venture an hour and 6 minutes ago, right? So thank you, Jazz, for taking that leap, and on to better things, and to amazing things, and to things that I don't think that we can truly comprehend right now, because it hasn't happened. But there are certain feelings that reside within me, that I just feel that, it's there, and it'll happen how it happens, and one day we'll look back and be like, shit, that's how it happened. Like, damn, but I feel it. I feel that magic. Before, we, as we start to wrap up, I know you have some things that, you want to share. You're very passionate about life. You are, you're a supporter of many communities, of emerging adults. So for the next couple of minutes, Jazz, the floor is yours. Whatever you'd like to discuss with us, get it out there in the open. Say your words, tell the world they're listening.
Oof. I'm not sure. Honestly, it's funny because before you messaged me on a couple of days ago to schedule this, I was having, intense dreams, and I was really feeling like there was so much that needed to be talked about, and more in a like social issues global way. And I was like, I don't know what I can do about it right now. And then when he texted me, I was like, oh, okay, well, perfect. Maybe I can talk about things. And then for the past 2 days, there's probably 100 topics that came into my mind, and said, oh, like I should talk about this, or we should talk about this. So ultimately now, does anyone have some kind of last prompt, or... Because I don't know where to go.
I got you. All right. So that being said, what is, again, you said there are 100 things, coming to you, hitting you all at once, and that's a beautiful thing. You have a big, brilliant mind, what is the number one thing that is just calling out to you, and everyone always knows what that is? Go for it.
Yeah, I would say, it's almost become a buzzword, but I hope it doesn't take away from its of how essential it is. But it's meditation. It's meditation. It is the key to everything. And when we're talking about shifting consciousness, we can philosophize all day and talk about all of the change we want to make all day, but ultimately, like you said several times, Alan, we are the smallest interdependent part of the system. And if we cannot take a couple minutes every day to sit in silence with ourselves, then ultimately all of these dreams of a new, better world are for naught. So I hope that these centers are going to reopen soon. Perhaps you've heard of them. They're called Vipassana, or rather Vipassana is the meditation technique. But long story short, this is a 10-day silent meditation retreat where you learn the pure meditation technique that was taught by Buddha all of those centuries ago, and they have centers all over the world which are completely run off of donations and volunteers, and therefore they are completely free. They just, all you need is your time and your dedication to go. Unfortunately, as I said, they've been closed for some time, which I have a lot to say about that, but I don't want to go on too long about this. But just, there's so many ways now. There's apps, there's podcasts, there's websites, there's classes, there's books, there's anything you could ever think of. So if anyone listening hasn't started that yet, well, you should. And if you're not sure how, within all of Growstill services, we incorporate it into our approach. So you can come to us and we can get you started, because everyone can do it. It's literally accessible to every single human on this planet.
Boom. That was fantastic. That was really great. And of course, as always, what we recommend with our guests, for anyone that is in support of, other organizations, ideas, events and whatnot, send the links our way. That way we can publish them, when this episode goes up in the description. That being said, Jazz, it was an absolute pleasure to have you. I'm very happy we did this. I'm all smiles, and it's just... what can I say? I look forward to having these discussions even more in depth, like for when we can get back in person. And I think that day is soon approaching. All right. So, you heard it from Jazz, round of applause. Yes. All right. And before we get going, Jazz, we always have some magic words, guests like to drop at the end, I think you've been a pretty consistent listener. So when you're ready, if you like to drop them, just, go for it.
It was good. We didn't even have to tell her.
We are ALFA Relations.
The best part is yet to come. My personal favorite.
Woo! Yes. Oh, that was good.
But for the record, Luca says it best.
All right, good sir, Luca, take it away.
All right, thank you again, Jazz, for coming. This is what we love about podcasting, having these opportunities to have other people come and share their story and be vulnerable, because other people could relate, and I'm sure there's someone out there who has listened to this episode that could relate to your struggles of transitioning into that adulthood, and it was really powerful, I thought, this episode. So we're gonna leave all the links down below for Growstill to check out. So check out if you are interested, and we'll have anything else that you send our way. As always, if you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, turn on post notifications. If you're on our platforms, hit that follow button. Thank you all for listening. Peace out.
And share.
Yes.